For my next steampunk project, I've got this 8" by 8" shadow box frame. I'm trying to angle it so that you're not getting glare from the light, so you can see my camera above my desk there. So this is a deep kind of 8" by 8" shadow box canvas, if you like, with a hardboard back, obviously with a glass front. And I'm going to build my canvas, my steampunk canvas, on the baseboard here at the back, so directly onto the baseboard at the back. So the way to do that is I'm going to use my hot glue gun, which I haven't used for absolutely ages. Get this plugged in, warmed up, and then I've got a variety of items that I've pulled from my mixed media junk drawer, which everybody should have. I can't reach the cable, I can't get the plug in. There we are. Okay, so that's now switched on. And I've got some glue sticks at the ready. There. So yes, I've pulled a load of items, bits and pieces, some die cuts, some grunge board, some chipboard, some MDF, some metal pieces that I want to add to this steampunk canvas. And then once I've actually got everything glued down onto it, I'm then going to paint it and use some paint effects on there too. So that's my first job, is to get this thing warmed up. It's just starting to go. Okay, so when that's ready, I'll be back. Okay, while my hot glue gun is warming up, the first thing that I need to do and get ready is this heart. So I've cut this kind of primitive heart shape out freehand from some grunge board, and I need to paint it black, or have it painted black. So I've got my Dina Wakley black gesso, and I'm going to just cover the whole thing, make sure I get the edges too. So this is going to be a little bit messy. So it has to be a decent thickish coat of the black gesso all the way around. Now I just need something to hold it, so I'm just going to use a scalpel blade. So that's the first item that I need to do. The reason I need to do this first is because I will be adding this onto the canvas once I've added my paint effects. You'll see why, but that's pretty much the reason why I need to do this first. So that's now had a complete coat of black gesso. I'll need to get that dried before I can continue with anything else. And this is still while my hot glue gun is warming up. The heart's now dry enough for me to be able to handle it, and I'm going to add a coat of the Crackle Glaze onto this. So make sure that I've got plenty of the Crackle Glaze on. Just like that, just let it drip down the sides, and I'm happy with the amount of Crackle Glaze that I've added. Drop my paintbrush in the water, put the Crackle Glaze away, and then I'm going to leave that to dry naturally. So I think my glue gun is now warm enough to actually start work on the base. So I shall put this to one side. You can see the nice shine on there, and I'll be back in a min. Okay, so I have my pile of die cuts here, and I've got some MDF cogs. I've got a 6x6 small flat canvas here as well that I want to add onto the base of this. So I'm going to add this directly onto the back. So I'm just going to use the glue, just give it a liberal, typical. We're going to end up drying on me. So quickly just turn that over, and drop that down kind of right in the middle so that I've got an equal footing all the way around. So that's pretty much got an equal border, top, bottom and sides. So the next, I want two of my large cogs. So these again have been cut from grunge board, and they're going to get stuck down just onto there. So I just want a little bit of hot glue just to go around there, and then line that up and just drop that down. I can go around removing all the strings from the glue gun in a little while, that's not an issue. So add a little bit going around that way, and then around the middle, and then drop that down so that it touches the corners. Doesn't matter if it goes over just a little bit, that's not too much of a problem. Okay, so then I want another cog, and I'm just going to go around the edges there. I've kind of pre-planned this out where I want everything to go, and then that's going to go across the middle there. So again, like I said, I can go in and remove all of those strings later. So on top of that, I've die cut from, was it the Tim Holtz weathered clock, again using grunge board. I'm going to add some touches around. I'm not being too particular, and then I'm going to drop that in the centre like so. And like I said before, all the strings, that kind of stuff, will just rub off once they're dry. I can pull them out and you won't see a hide nor hair of them once we're all dry and glued and stuck down. Okay, so next ones. Just want a little bit of glue around there. Then I can stick that one, let's just say about there, because I also want to bring this cog in on that corner, like so, and then this one's going to go in this corner, so I also want to add another one of those smaller cogs just underneath there, just for a tad of balance. So again, just add a little bit of glue. Don't need a lot, just to hold it in place. And then the big one, that can get stuck there. And then this one can get stuck just on there, like so. And then we've got pretty much almost the base sorted out. But then I've got these two little beauties that I want to add to the canvas also. So I'm going to need to pack those a little bit with the glue underneath. But I also need to just space my heart as well. So that needs to go in the middle, so there's enough room there for it to fit. So I shall grab my glue, put more of it on that side because that's going to be raised up like that. I think there's enough. There's enough glue under there for that to hold. Yes, there is. That's perfect. I'll do the same thing at this side. Put more glue at that side there than I have at this side. I'm going to need another stick. This is very quickly. That's the problem with using glue sticks. You tend to use a lot. And then drop that one down just there. So that's going to hold in place. Just use my finger just to push that back a little bit while it's still warm. That should, theoretically, when it's dry, hold in place. In fact, there you go. So I'm going to let that cool down for a little while, just so that it sets completely, and then I can bring in a brush and start removing some of the strings from that. But that is the basic structure of my canvas so far. Okay, so that is now completely set, and I've gone around, removed as many of the strings as I possibly can for the time being. I've just spotted another one I missed, honestly. So I'm now going to put this to one side just to work or finish working on the heart. So for that I want some acrylic paint. So I've got some Dina Wakley Media Ruby acrylic paint. So this is bright red or ruby red, and I need a fair bit, and I probably will be better off with a smaller brush rather than the one that I just picked up, which I think is probably going to be too big. It's probably going to be a lot better. So what I'm going to do is just pick up and then just add the red paint over the top, just in small brush strokes. Hopefully the cracks will start to appear. And they have. There you go. You probably can't see that because of the way the light's on it, but you can see the cracks have started to appear in it already. So I'm not going to overwork it. I'm going to leave that crackling on its own. And then when that's dry, I'll come back. Right, while that heart is drying and crackling all on its own, I've brought back my main canvas. I've just spotted another string, there we go, and this time another brush, and I've got the Dina Wakley black gesso again, and now I'm going to completely cover the entire canvas in black gesso, including all the cogs and spanners or wrenches, depending on where you are in the world. And I probably will need to do 2 or 3 coats of this to make sure that I've got everything. So I've started off. I will go on to fast forward, and then I will join with you once I've got at least 1 coat finished. Okay, so that looks as though I've managed to get just about everywhere on the canvas. Now, in my experience, on the first coat of gesso, you never, ever, ever manage to get in every single nook and cranny. So the best thing to do is to actually do one coat, like I've done here, let it dry, and then turn it from every angle. Move it and turn it from every angle that you possibly can, and look to see if you have missed anywhere. If there even just a spot where you could have got and you've actually missed, like underneath the cogs there and that kind of stuff. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. So I'm going to get this dried, and then I'll be able to turn it round and have a look to see if there's any spaces. Now there are some shiny spots where obviously the paint is wet, so it will reflect the light. It will look as though there are spaces on the camera, but they're just highlights where the light's catching it. But once you turn it around from a different angle, you can see the white spots. Okay, so that'll be my first coat. I'll be back once that's dry. So the first coat of gesso is pretty much dry. There are some spots that I can see that are still a little bit wet, mostly dry I should say, and there's also one or two little spots like there, that maybe there, that won't catch in with some black gesso in a little while, but this is the perfect opportunity just to add a few more details. Now I've got some faux pearl, the self-adhesive backed pearls. Now this is a perfect opportunity now just to add a few more details to the design. So if I add these on now, when I come to add another coat of gesso, we can go over these, and these will then become some faux rivets. So if I just kind of try and put them as equidistant as I can, not necessarily needs to be precision. It is steampunk after all. And all I'm doing is just picking these up just on the edge of a scalpel, as you can see, just to lay them down. Now that one there possibly just needs moving a little bit. I haven't really put too much pressure on these. There we go. That should do it. And then maybe just add one or two more. So we've got a space just here where we could add a few faux rivets there, there, and let's see if we can get that one. There. Just add a little bit more depth and dimension. I might be able to get some more. Let's see if I've got some more in my stash. It doesn't matter what colour they are, because you're going to be painting them black anyway. So if you've got some odd colours that you want to use up, see, I've got some red ones here, which I obviously have hardly ever used. Let's see. But I will be painting these black, so it doesn't really make any difference whether they are a different colour or not. They're the same size, so it's all pretty much... excuse me while I just shut the door. Ian's making noises downstairs. I don't want the camera to pick it up. What was I saying? Yeah, it doesn't matter what colour they are, because there will be like a uniform colour later on anyway. So I think what I'm going to do is get one in there, Just add some more detail into it. And I'm just going to go around this cog here, which will be in the corner, just add in one to each of the, I suppose you call it sprocket holes if you like, or teeth. And because I've got some self-adhesive on the back of these, it's easy to pick them up just using the scalpel blade, just on the point, like that, and then place them down. Pretty easy. There we go. Like little ladybirds, like little ladybugs. Like I said, they will get painted anyway. The risk of repeating myself 1,000 times. That my friend always used to say, you're not repeating yourself, you're reinforcing. She was full of BS, my friend. Okay, so we've got some nice faux rivets up there. Maybe we can add one or two just here, just for a little bit of detail. So just add one there. One there. I think sometimes this is what takes up the most or the length of the time. Just adding in these kind of little details that you wouldn't necessarily always see, because they'll disappear off into the background, but you know, they'll be there. But it's like a good soundtrack to a movie. If you don't notice it, it's blended well. Alright, let's see whether we can actually get one in there. Oh, Ian's just dropped something in the kitchen. I think I'll maybe try and get one on there. No, that looks a bit silly. So that's going to be the top, this is going to be the bottom. That should do it. There's enough there, I think, unless I maybe just put every other one. 1, 2, 3. That one, no, that one, every other one. There. We like faux rivets. That looks good. Okay, so now that we've got that done, we can do second coat of gesso. So let me just get prepared, clean the brush off, and then I'll be back. Right, I've given myself a smaller brush this time so I can maybe get more into the detail of where the black paint needs to go. And I'll try and cover everything. See those the red rivets are now going black. Try and make sure that I get from every angle. Try and get in where I couldn't get in before with that larger brush. Just there. Oh, there was one little corner, wasn't there? Little white corner that we missed. I say we, it's the collective we, because you're sat there watching me at home, you're with me too. Okay, so those, You see how they're just disappearing now? They're kind of uniform. Okay, so that's the first coat on the rivets. Now, that one there, you can see it's shining, and it's not because it's wet. So I'm just going to dust over all of the rivets with some more gesso, just to make sure that they've all had at least two coats. Okay, so I think second coat, happy with that. So I can put my gesso to one side so I can get the lid back on. There we go. One more blast, then I'll be back. Okay, so one of the things that I need to point out when I always point out when I'm doing a project like this is this. If you're using metallic objects on your mixed media canvases and you're using your heat gun, please allow enough time for the metal elements to cool down sufficiently, because otherwise if you forget and put your hand on, you're going to burn yourself. So I always like to leave a couple of minutes after I've used a heat gun on any project that's had metal objects on it, so that the metal has time to cool down. And also, if you've used a hot glue gun, remember that the glue on the heat will also remelt again, so you've got to make sure that you leave it sufficient time for that to reset once more. So a good quarter of an hour, 20 minutes in between using your heat gun to make sure that the metal elements have cooled down sufficiently and the glue's reset so that you don't burn yourself. Yes, I have done it in the past because I've not been thinking straight. Anyway, right, moving on. So on to the steampunkification of the canvas. I have indigo blue Miss Moneypenny metallic copper paint, and as you saw me shake it up then, that was to get some on the inside of the lid. And I'm just going to take a little bit. You see, I've only got a very, very small amount on the brush, and I'm just going to lightly start dry brushing over the top of all my elements. I'm also going to catch the canvas, try and grab the writing on that wrench, corners, anything that's going to catch the paint, and you can build up as quickly as you want, tiny little bit, work it into the brush, and then just dust over the edges. Remember, you can always add more, you can never take it away. Just see how the detail starts coming out in that canvas, so you can get the actual detail in. And you see the texture, the canvas starting to show through. Now all I'm doing is just lightly, there's nothing on the brush. Just very, very small amounts, just dust over. So because this is kind of a time-consuming process, what I'll do is I will switch over to fast forward. And you can see the process being done a little bit quicker than real time. Maybe you'll be able to see the actual detail a bit better coming out as I'm doing it. Okay, I think perfect timing with that email. I think that is all I'm going to do for the copper on the background there. So I'm pretty happy with the way that looks. Because of the lighting, it's obviously, I don't know whether it looks too silvery. On my monitor that I use to see what I'm recording, make sure I'm in shot, it looks quite silvery. But I think in reality you can see the copper that's in there, and all that detail is shining through absolutely wonderfully. So I'm happy with that. So the next step that I want to add to the canvas was bring that heart back. So this is what the heart now looks like. So that crackle has worked beautifully on that heart, as you can see. Beautiful kind of crackle on there. But what I want to try and do is just add a little bit of copper just on the edges of this. So I'm just going to catch the edge of the card and just see if I can get a little bit of that copper on the end. Just a tiny wee amount. Just to help to kind of unify everything together. You may never spot it, you may never notice it, but I'll know it's there. And if I do eventually offer this for sale, which is what I tend to do with pieces of artwork once I've done looking at them, then you'll know too if you end up being the owner. Okay, so that will do. I'm putting the copper brush down. Now, I put some foam pads on the back of this because I wanted to add this to the canvas, not with the hot glue gun because it would have just taken far too long to heat the hot glue gun back up again, but because I'm trying not to get copper paint on the front. Actually, it probably would have been a good idea, thinking about it, because I'm going to have to get the hot glue gun back on to put the final element of this back together on it anyway. So, but hey ho, we're done now. So I want to add that heart to the middle of the canvas, about there. Excellent. So that's actually, the foam pads are actually holding that quite nicely. So, and I'm going to put the hot glue gun back on again because for the final element, which is a bit of metal, it's going to need to be going on with the hot glue. So there you go. Hoisted by my own petard, never mind. Right. I shall leave that for the minute to dry, although because I've dry brushed, it's mostly dry anyway. So what I'll do is while that's heating, I can then start work on the, put that to one side, I can start work just on the outside of the frame. Now, I'm not going to paint this black, I'm not going to excuse the camera and the reflection, I'm not going to, it's a bit distracting that, isn't it? Have I got anything white that I can just drop down in front of it? There you go. I'm not going to paint it black and then copper it. I want to copper where it is there, but I want to try and keep that natural kind of wood feel to it, so I shouldn't have put that brush in water, but never mind. Hey ho. So what I'm going to do is just take some of that copper paint, just dry the brush off a little bit, that's it. And then I'm just going to start to catch the corners of the wood so it looks as though it may at one point have been coppered, but you can try and get all that kind of wood grain from it. I don't know whether you can see that. It's not exactly the straightest of frames either by the looks of things. So that's the top. So you can see you've got that hint of copper showing through. You've also got that hint of shabbiness. Which is all great. We love a bit of shabby chic. I think that's going to do it. For now, at least, anyway. So, glue gun's back hot again, so I can put that frame to one side. Bring in the main canvas. And the final touch that I'm going to add to this is a copper door knocker with the lion's head. So I'm going to add the glue around the outside. Add some to the middle. And then turn that over and very carefully place that in the middle. Now this was already copper, so I really didn't need to do anything with that at all. And I like the way that it stands out a little bit from the rest of the canvas. And that is solid already. So this is my steampunk lion heart, which is what I'm going to call it. So now I have to see if I can try and wrestle it back into its frame. So let's get rid of that, turn that over, and we should be able, now I did get a palette at the ready so that I could manipulate. I think it's that side where I need to manipulate more than anything. This one, there it is. Okay, after much discussion with myself and Ian, discovered that when I put the lion's head on and the foam pads underneath the heart, that it made it so that it was just too big to actually fit into the frame comfortably. So, after discussing at great length what can be done to the frame to make it fit, what I've done is I've painted the inside of the frame so that it's literally black on the inside. Ian's cut me 4 little spacers that he's got from scraps of MDF. So when these are painted up, so I'm going to gesso them all because it's only MDF in black, and then I'm going to dry brush in copper after they're all done in black, and then I'm going to stick them just on the inside of the frame, which is just going to raise the back a little bit so that the lion head will fit comfortably inside. That way it'll work. So I've got 4 of these to colour. So this is going to be a little bit of a boring, repetitive process, and I want all 4 sides doing. So you've seen me do one, like so. I now need to do the other 3, and then I'll show you just adding the copper to it. And then I'll join you when I'm done, which shouldn't be too long. Okay, so I've got my 4 now painted copper corner pieces, and before anybody asks, the kitchen roll inside is only there to stop the reflection of the camera above my desk. and the glare from the light. So that's the only reason why that kitchen roll is in there. So those are the 4 corner pieces. So I've got some Ranger glossy accents. Any kind of strong glue would do for this. So, and I'm literally just putting a little blob of glue in the corner, and then I'm just going to stick those blocks in place. Okay, so my little spacer corners are now completely and utterly dry. They're not going anywhere. So all I need to do now is, that's the top. So again, that's just there to stop the glare. But once I've turned this over, and you shouldn't get it, and then I can just sit the back, and that fits just perfectly into that background. So all I have to do now is just to grab some tape and literally just put the tape down, and that's going to hold it in place. There we go. Now, when I turn it over, hopefully you're not going to get much glare, and that, he says, moving his head out of the way, is the finished canvas. Kind of adds a little something having those things in the corners. Pleased with that. Let's just put that under there, or maybe something a little bit higher. There we go. So, I hope you've enjoyed watching me put that together. If you have, please remember to give it a thumbs up, share the video with your friends, and if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, you can do so by clicking the button at the end of the video. Now, if you're interested in purchasing this, then keep an eye on the website, because it probably will appear in the next week or so, because I really haven't got anywhere to put this, so I'll probably end up putting it on the website for sale. So if you are interested, you can either drop me an email or keep an eye on the website. That's all I can say for now. So, like I said, I will be back very, very soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. Thank you.